if you fly through the first half of the pull-up, but then when it gets above 90 degrees, you start kipping, swinging, just dying to get the chin above the bar, just to end up with an ugly ass looking pull-up. You try switching grip widths, switching to supinated grip, then going to your pronated grip again because you realize that all of the world records are set in the pronated grip. I know exactly how that feels like, because I used to struggle and I used to have a poverty pull-up. I literally used to like do a 50 kilogram pull-up whilst dipping 100 kilograms. Like, that's a big of a disbalance. And I just couldn't lock it out. It was so hard. And I went from struggling to lock out those 55 kilograms to now doing a 75 kilogram pull-up with strict form. And for a 16-year-old with a body weight of around 70 kilograms, that isn't that bad, but it will definitely get even better if I continue taking my advice. So if you want that exact same transformation, listen up. So right now, I will teach you the best pull-up technique that is the most optimized if you suck at the top part, and also exercises to implement to your workout routine today to start getting better and better at the pull-up, so the upper part is no longer your weakness. But I quickly want to cover why does this happen? Why is this part easier than this part? Whilst in some people it is the complete opposite. Let's say one of my friends, he also in the one arm pull-up and in the regular pull-up, he struggles to pull up this, but then it gets easier and he can lock it out really easily. How does that happen? So I dug into research and I discovered that there are 3 make or break factors. The first reason is because of muscle insertions. Everybody is unique. Some people have higher lat insertions, some people have lower lat insertions, and that allows some people to be able to good at the top part whilst sucking at the bottom, and people like me and you watching this, we are good at the bottom part, but we are not that good at the top part. The second thing, something that I found out, is people with long bicep peaks. So if you can fit less than 2 fingers, like 1 or 2 fingers in between your bicep, although that's good for aesthetics, is not that good for pull-ups. Because my friend who's good at the top part has like really short inserted bicep. He can literally fit like 4 or 3 fingers inside of that gap. And that also allows his arm to get a bit closer to his shoulder, which is really important. And the third part, the most important, it is your upper arm to lower arm ratio. That's so important. If your humerus bone, which is this one, is substantially shorter than average, you will be better at dips and bench and basically any other movement except for pull-ups. My friend has a humerus bone this long. He is a bit taller than me, but it's this long. And mine is super short, that's why I'm really good at dips and also bench. And this bone, which I forgot how it's called, it's about the same length. But if this is longer than this, and I pull up, well, then we have a problem. So yeah, that's the genetics behind why you can't finish the pull-up. Now I will explain the technique and show it over here how it's correctly demonstrated. You set up with a bit of a wider grip, a little bit. Just a bit wider than you usually do it, because the wider, the better. And you also get a little bit of a false grip just to get a little bit of an advantage, like 1 centimeter, because if you bend this, you can pull a little bit higher. And also you have the plates, the weight plates, lower down, you have them above 5 centimeters above your feet. And you need to have really good plate control. So squeeze them tightly with your calves. That's the entire setup. And now let's get into the actual rep. This is kind of complicated. You want to maximize momentum because you are strong at this part, but weak at this part. So the ideal scenario is that this part, you pull it so high that the momentum just carries your chin above the bar. That's the best case scenario. That probably won't happen. So what you need to focus on is that when you go down, is that you extend your lats a little bit. So you see your lats. This is also going to tie up into the exercises because you want to have this part really strong. So the more you stretch, the higher you can pull and the more aggressively. So you get even like a tiny bit of a swing, not too much because then it will fuck up the rest of the pull-up. That's just a little bit of a swing, like a bit 5 centimeters forward, and then you pull, like in the muscle up. Then, when you completely extend your scapula, retract it, and when you go up, bring your elbows forward. Focus on bringing your elbows forward and driving the pull-up more like this. In this motion, you are pretty strong. So, elbows forward and pull forward. It's explained in the video playing on the screen. And whilst doing all of these things, so scapula retracted, elbows forward, we'll focus on L-sitting a little bit, like in the muscle, but just a tiny bit, because you want the plates to travel the most distance right now, and then when it gets past these 90 degrees, you want them travel up just a little bit. So right now you are pulling the plates forward. So after that you can extend your legs, that's going to be in the part above 90 degrees, so they don't move up that much. This is all competition allowed. The rep that I'm showing is competition allowed because you are not swinging that much, just a little bit. Then after you break 90 degrees, you'll start flaring your elbows to the side. That will gain a little bit of strength in the upper part from what I realized. If you have strong rotator cuffs from like stuff like dips, or even if you like train your rotator cuff like this or like this, it will give you a little bit of a strength boost if you flare your elbows out. And they also won't get in the way of you pulling it. So when you flare them out, you get just a little bit of a strength boost. And that's all what you need sometimes to lock out the pull-up. Now, when you break 90 degrees, you will focus on pulling the plates back. So we are a little bit L-seated until this point. Right now, you will extend your legs almost completely backward. So the center of the plate is exactly like dead center within the bar. So the bar is, let's say, here, the weight is over here. It isn't forward, it isn't backward. And that little pull will actually get you forward, which helps you to lock it out a bit more. It also helps you to get the chin above the bar. In a competition, that's really, really important. And then at the end, you will hollow your back. So there is a hollow and an arched body pull-up. At the beginning, you do an arched body pull-up because you want to use as many muscles of the back to generate as much force as possible and as much momentum with the weight. And up here, you go from an arched body pull-up to a little bit of a hollow, because on the top, the hollow body pull-up has more power. Now, the exercises you need to add to your routine today to get better at the upper part of the pull-up. A really popular calisthenics fitness influencer called Ian Barsegal, because he said like, oh, when you suck at the top part, just continue doing regular pull-ups, everybody has a problem. And I'm like, what? I don't like watch Ian Barsegal because I know his content is bullshit. But one of my followers on Instagram, like a subscriber of mine, sent me his story and he commented,
if you have a problem, then don't fix it.
I was laughing about it like, that's true, like that's sad, but it's true. If he didn't go through the struggle like me, being able to do this with 80 kilograms, but this with about 50, he didn't go through that struggle. So why does he open his mouth and trying to tell other people to do something that he haven't yet experienced? I won't be trying to tell you over here how to learn the one-arm front lever when I can't do that and I never even tried learning it. I did the front lever pull-ups, I did the holds, but I was never interested in the one arm. So back to the point. The exercise that you need to do is 1, every single time you do a pull-up, do it with this technique. It's going to be a bit harder from the start, so add less weight and do a bit more reps. Do like, let's say 5 reps. So if you are used to doing like 3 sets of 3, something like that, do like 4 sets of 5. So more volume, lower intensity, so it's called like drill. You literally drill into your mind the technique that you want to do. So L-sit, elbows back, whatever, rewatch the tutorial again, that's so important. So every single rep is with the exact same technique. Then pause the pull-ups. Pull up to the top and pause. This is also what you can implement after you do that pull-up with the correct technique. You pause at the top. That's also really, really important. I don't do paused pull-ups in my workout routine, I do this another exercise. I call it one normal, one half. Super easy, you do one normal, one half. Easy. And also pause at the top. Every single time I do a weakness-based support exercise to focus on the top part, I pause. Every single time I go up, pause, half, up, pause, down, and repeat it. Then tempo pull-ups. Doing them slower, feeling the technique, literally doing them like in slow motion, and pausing on the top. Do it with really low weight. And also chest to bar pull-ups, because they will build that explosive strength initially. So in the starting part of the pull-up, you move the weight and you give the weight as much momentum as possible. So the lockout is easier, and the chest to bar pull-up will make you like aim higher. So let's say if you do a regular pull-up, weighted pull-up whilst focusing on pulling it higher than you are normally gonna do. So let's say imagine doing a pull-up, but imagine that the bar is 3 centimeters higher. You are actually gonna get more strength whilst doing that. So chest to bar pull-ups are really important. And if you literally want to double your dips and pull-ups, check out this video right here. Bye, take care bro, you got this.